My parents abandoned my 8-year-old daughter in a foreign country and flew back home. We've all decided that it's better without her, they said. I didn't cry. I took action. 2 hours later, their lives started to unravel. I got to arrivals at 11:12 a.m. with a cold coffee and a bunch of daisies I bought at the airport kiosk because I'm the kind of person who thinks flowers can patch holes in reality. My daughter Lily loves flowers. She'll press them between book pages like she's saving evidence for court. Lily doesn't have a phone. Lily is 8. Lily still forgets to zip her backpack all the way and then acts surprised when pencils fall out like confetti, which is why I was standing there scanning faces like a security camera, waiting for a small body to come barreling toward me, waiting for the hug that knocks the wind out of my lungs. 3 days in Dubai. A treat, Mom had called it. Luxury. She said it like it meant she'd leveled up as a grandparent. It was Mom and Dad, my sister Ashley and her husband Matt, and their children Paige and Ethan, and Lily. Cousins trip. Grandparents trip. Family photos, beaches, hotel lobbies. Lauren, stay home. You need rest. You work too much. I'd believed them. Not because they'd earned it, but because Lily was excited and I wanted to be the mom who says yes to something big. So I'd signed a travel consent letter. 3 days. Specific dates. Return on Tuesday. I took a photo of it on my phone because my life is held together by screenshots and just in case. The doors opened. The crowd poured out. A woman squealed and jumped into someone's arms. A man juggled 2 suitcases and a toddler like it was normal. Someone dropped a stuffed bunny and 3 strangers reacted like it was a falling baby. Then I saw my family. Mom first, Dad beside her, Ashley behind them, sunglasses on her head like a crown, Matt pulling a carry-on, Paige and Ethan dragging their little rolling suitcases. They were smiling. They looked refreshed, cheery, like they'd just had a nice break from being themselves. I smiled back automatically because my face didn't know what else to do. And then my brain counted. 1, 2, 3, 4 adults, 2 kids, and a lily-shaped absence so loud it made the terminal feel quiet. I stepped forward. Hey, where's... My smile froze halfway through. Where's Lily? I finished. Mom didn't flinch. That's what still gets me. Not the words. The ease. Lauren, she said brightly, don't freak out. I'm not freaking out, I said. I'm asking where my daughter is. Ashley made a small noise. A laugh, almost. Paige, rubbing her eyes, said, We left her in Dubai. For a second, I actually nodded, like she'd said we left her favorite hat. My brain tried to fit it into a reasonable shape. I waited for the punchline. No one gave me one. I looked at Dad. She's not here? Dad sighed, like I'd asked him to carry my groceries. We can talk about it at home. No, I said. My voice came out very calm, which felt wrong. We can talk about it now. Where is she? Ashley leaned in, too close. Don't do this in the airport. Do what? I asked. Collect my child? Matt shifted his bag higher on his shoulder. He wouldn't look at me. Mom lowered her voice like she was soothing a toddler. Everything's fine. Ethan, still blunt in that kid way, said, She's with her dad. That word landed and didn't bounce. Her dad. Cole. My ex-husband. My former husband. My former problem. The man who vanished after our divorce like he'd been raptured. 3 years. No contact. No support. No, how's Lily? No birthday cards. No money. Nothing. Lily barely remembered him. When his name came up, she'd squint like she was trying to place a character from a book she read a long time ago. I stared at Ashley. You gave Lily to Cole. We didn't give her, Ashley said. We left her with her father. Mom's smile tightened. We've all decided that it's better without her. I felt my throat go dry. Better without my 8-year-old? Dad's voice went firm. Lauren, you're barely managing. You work nonstop. You're stressed. You can't give her what he can. He's her father, Mom added. He has resources, a stable life, opportunities. Opportunities. That word sounded like something you put in a brochure. I looked at their faces again, searching for any sign of panic, any sign they'd made a horrible mistake. Nothing. They were calm. They were satisfied. I took a breath through my nose. Give me his address. Ashley laughed. A real laugh. No! Give me his phone number. No! Dad's jaw tightened. You're not going to rush over there and cause trouble. What trouble? My voice cracked on the last word. I want my child. Mom's eyes narrowed. Lauren, stop. This is done. Done. Like custody was a group decision made over brunch. I pulled my phone out. My hands were shaking now, but the movement helped. It made it feel like I was doing something. I called Cole's old number. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. I turned away from them because if I kept looking at their faces, I might do something that got me banned from airports forever. I opened Google and typed his name like he was a missing package. Cole had been private when he vanished, like he didn't exist. Now he was everywhere. LinkedIn, company page, press photos, Cole shaking hands with men in suits, Cole smiling next to tall glass buildings. Cole posted like someone who wanted to be seen. I scrolled until my thumb hurt, and then I saw it. A post from 2 hours ago. A photo of Cole in a bright, expensive-looking place, his arm around a small figure in pink. Lily, her hair, her posture, the way she held her shoulders when she was trying not to cry. My stomach dropped like I'd stepped off a curb and the ground wasn't there. The caption said something about family, about blessings, about being proud. He hadn't been proud for 3 years. He hadn't been anything. My eyes blurred, not from tears yet, from the sheer shock of it. Behind me, Ashley said, "Don't be dramatic, Lauren." I turned back slowly. Mom and Dad and Ashley and Matt and Paige and Ethan stood there in the airport like they'd done something generous. They didn't look afraid. That told me everything. I didn't cry. Not there. Not yet. I looked at them and said, very quietly, "You've made a mistake." Mom tilted her head like I was being childish. "You'll see." I stared at her for a long second. Then I nodded once. Because I could feel something in me shifting into place. The cold, glassy feeling right before the shatter. And I knew this wasn't going to be a family argument. This was going to be a rescue. People ask me now, "Didn't you see it coming?" They always say it like I missed something obvious. Like there was a flashing sign that read, "Today, your family commits a felony." The truth is, I saw the pattern. I just never imagined the pattern would swallow my child. My sister Ashley was the favorite. That was the family's original religion. When we were kids, Ashley got praised the way other kids got snacks. Constantly, without asking, like it was just there. If Ashley wanted a new outfit for a school event, Mom and Dad made it happen. If I needed something, I was independent, and they were so proud I could figure it out. As adults, the favoritism didn't disappear. It got a budget. Mom and Dad helped Ashley's whole household like it was their personal project. Ashley, Matt, Paige, Ethan, money here, help there, cover a bill. Just until payday. Pay for sports fees, pay for a family weekend, pay for flights, pay for vacations. They traveled with Ashley's family too. Real trips. The kind with matching family photos and resort bracelets. Me and Lily weren't part of those trips. Not in a dramatic, "you're not invited" way. In a quiet, We forgot to include you whey, the kind you're supposed to swallow without making anyone uncomfortable. And I did swallow it, for a long time. Because I wanted Lily to have grandparents, and because there's a special kind of exhaustion that comes from arguing with people who insist you're the problem. Then there was Cole. I've learned people like simple villains. They like the story where he was awful from day one and I escaped like a hero. It wasn't like that. Cole could be charming. That was his skill. He could walk into a room and make people feel chosen. He did it to my parents. He did it to strangers. He did it to Lily too, in short bursts. When Lily was little, he'd scoop her up and act like Father of the Year for an hour. He'd make pancakes. He'd play games. He'd take photos. Then the hour would end, and he'd disappear into his phone. Emails, calls, work. He wasn't cruel. He was absent in a way that makes you question whether you're asking for too much. We separated when Lily was around 4. That year before the divorce was a mess. He was inconsistent then, showed up sometimes, vanished sometimes, enough to confuse Lily. She'd ask, "When is Daddy coming?" And I'd say, "Soon," because I didn't know what else to do with a 4-year-old's hope. The divorce was finalized when she was 5, and after that, Cole vanished completely. No every other weekend, no holiday schedule, no calls, no visits, no support. 3 years. Lily stopped asking eventually, not because she didn't feel it, but because kids adapt when adults don't. By 8, Cole wasn't a presence. He was a name. Meanwhile, I was a teacher. Middle school. The age where kids are old enough to say something devastating and young enough to not even know it was a weapon. I love my job. I do, but teaching as a single mom is basically a permanent state of triage. Paycheck to paycheck. Bills, groceries, shoes that somehow always need replacing. The endless math of what can wait until next month. I couldn't afford big trips. I couldn't afford fancy. I couldn't afford a lawyer to hunt down a man who didn't want to be found. And then Mom and Dad announced Dubai. They said it casually, like they were going to the mall. I remember thinking, that's not their usual. They normally did budget trips, deals, packages. "We found a great price." That was their favorite sentence. Dubai didn't sound like a great price. Dubai sounded like someone else paid. But I didn't accuse them. Because if you accuse Mom of something, she becomes a wounded saint. Then they invited Lily. Not me. Just Lily. It was rare. That's the point. They didn't usually do things for Lily. Not big things. Not the way they did for Paige and Ethan. So when they said they wanted Lily to come, part of me wanted to believe it meant something. Maybe they were trying. Maybe they'd noticed the imbalance and felt guilty. Maybe this was their attempt to be better grandparents. Also, Lily was excited. Dubai sounded magical. Tall buildings, pools, desert, fancy breakfast buffets, and I couldn't give her that. So I said yes. I signed the travel consent letter for 3 days. I took a photo. I packed her little suitcase. I wrote her name on everything like it was summer camp. During the trip, I tried to call, not constantly, just enough to hear her voice. Every time someone answered with an excuse. She's swimming. She's eating. She's tired. She's having fun. Ashley sent photos. Lily holding an ice cream. Lily smiling in a hotel lobby. Lily next to Paige and Ethan with matching sunglasses. Everyone looked cheerful. So I told myself it was fine. Because I'm a mother, not a detective. And that's how I ended up at the airport with daisies and coffee, smiling at my family. Until I realized the only person I cared about wasn't with them. Dubai hadn't been a gift. Dubai had been a handoff. I tried again. Not the dramatic way. Not the give me my child right now way that makes people back away like you're contagious. The practical way. Just tell me where, I said, low enough that Paige and Ethan wouldn't hear. An address. A phone number. Anything. Mom's smile stayed glued on like a bad sticker. Dad's eyes went flat. Ashley's mouth twitched like she was enjoying this. And that's when I stopped wasting breath. Because you can't negotiate with people who think they're doing you a favor. So I did the one thing my family hates most. I brought in witnesses. Airport police wasn't a dramatic choice. It was the only one that made sense. We were still there. Still under fluorescent lights, still surrounded by cameras and uniforms and rules. I had my phone. I had the photo of the 3-day travel consent. I had my custody paperwork saved as PDFs because being a single mom teaches you to keep receipts like survival rations. I found an officer and said, "My child was taken internationally and wasn't returned." That sentence changes the temperature of a room. The officer's face shifted. His posture got sharper. He asked for Lily's name, age, the destination, who traveled, and what the agreement was. I didn't give him a monologue. I gave him dates. 3 days. Return today. Child not here. Then I handed him my screen, the consent letter, the custody order, the photo I took the day I signed it. He looked once, then said, "Stay here." My family must have thought the officer would shrug and send me home. Instead, 2 more officers walked over to Mom and Dad, Ashley and Matt. Questions started. Voices rose. Ashley tried to laugh it off, big, offended laughter. Mom went straight for wounded grandmother mode. We were trying to help. She's overreacting. Dad kept saying, "This is family business." The officers didn't care. They weren't there for family dynamics. They were there because a child didn't come home. I sat on a plastic chair with my phone in my lap. My knee bounced like it had a motor. I watched Mom's hands flutter as she spoke. I watched Ashley point at me like I was the criminal. I watched Matt stay just behind her shoulder, quiet, letting her take the heat. And I waited for the part where someone said something that couldn't be smoothed over. It didn't take long. An officer came back to me and asked, "Do you know if they booked a return ticket for the child?" My stomach tightened. "She had a return flight. Same as them. That's what they told me. My parents did the booking." He nodded slowly. "They can't provide proof of a return ticket for her." There it was. Not an accident. Not a misunderstanding. Not, we missed a connection. A plan. The officer's voice stayed even. "They're also in communication with a party in Dubai. We'll need statements, but they've provided a name and contact information." My throat went dry. "Cole." He didn't confirm, but his eyes said yes. Then came the next sentence, the one that made my skin go cold. "There are messages referencing payment." Payment. So that's what Dubai was. Not a gift. Not bonding. Not grandparents being generous for once. A transaction. I stood up too fast and the room tilted. I steadied myself with my hand on the chair back and forced my voice not to shake. "Do you have the address?" He wrote it down. A building name, a district, a phone number. It felt surreal, looking at an address in Dubai like it was a grocery list. "You're going to file a report?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "We'll take your full statement. You'll get a case number." I nodded. "I need to get there." He didn't tell me not to. He just looked at me with the expression people use when they want to say this is going to be hard, but they know you're going anyway. While officers continued questioning my family, I stepped aside and called the number. It rang twice. Then his voice, smooth, controlled, like this was an inconvenience in his day. "Lauren." No surprise. No confusion. Just my name. "Put Lily on," I said. Pause. "She's busy," he replied. "She's 8, I said, each word clipped. "She's not busy. Put her on." Another pause. Then his tone softened, performatively. "She's adjusting. This is a big change." I stared at a wall advertising holiday travel packages. You mean the change where you take a child who hasn't seen you in years and drop her into your life like she's luggage. She's my daughter, he said calmly. This isn't theft. This is reunification. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I have sole legal custody. That's American paperwork, he said. I swallowed. Why now, Cole? A beat. Then he said, too smoothly, because I can provide a better life. Opportunities. Stability. You've been struggling. There it was again. That word. Opportunities. The magic word people use when they're trying to disguise control as generosity. You don't even know her, I said. I know enough, he replied. And I'm not interested in a scene. Handle yourself. He hung up. Not with anger, with confidence. Like he thought the distance, the laws, the airport, the time zones, like all of it would do the work for him. I looked down at the address the officer had written. I looked at the case number on the temporary slip he'd handed me. I looked at the time. And I did what I always do when my world catches fire. I made a list. Find Lily. Get Lily. Get to the embassy. Get out. Before I moved, I opened LinkedIn. Cole's profile wasn't personal. It was a stage. Posts about leadership. Photos at events. Smiles that didn't reach his eyes. He was the kind of man who knew which side of his face was his trustworthy side. And there it was again. My daughter in his world. A picture where he looked proud and she looked small. Beneath the post were names, comments, congratulations. A buzz I didn't understand yet. One name kept appearing, clean and polished and unmistakably important. Edward Langford. I didn't know who he was. I didn't need to. I just knew Cole cared. And if Cole cared, it was leverage. I went back to the officers and gave my statement fast. Then I walked back toward the airline desk, opened my banking app, and made a decision that made my stomach drop. I bought the fastest flight. Last minute, brutal cost. One way, no plan for the return. My credit card didn't like it. My credit score probably screamed. I didn't care. I can recover from debt. I can't recover from losing Lily. When I finally got to the gate, my hands were shaking hard enough that I had to press my fingertips into my palm to stop them. As the plane lifted, I stared at the tray table in front of me like it could explain how a child disappears from your life in 3 days. I couldn't sleep. I tried. I closed my eyes. I counted breaths. I told myself I needed rest to be useful. My brain laughed at that. So I researched instead. Cole's posts, his company, the partner he was courting, public announcements, photos of venues, names of executives, little breadcrumbs that meant nothing to strangers and everything to me. And underneath the research, the dread stayed steady. Every hour in the air was an hour he could move first. By the time the cabin lights dimmed, I'd built a plan out of scraps. Not a perfect plan, just the only one I had. And as the plane pushed through the dark, I kept hearing the same line in my head, "You don't get to keep her." Dubai hit me like a showroom. Glass towers, bright sun, a sense that everything was expensive on purpose. I stepped out of the airport with an address written on paper and the kind of exhaustion that makes your bones feel hollow. The address was real. It was also useless, because a building and a child aren't the same thing. And I didn't have time to knock on doors. I stood outside the terminal and refreshed LinkedIn like it was a heartbeat monitor. A new post appeared. Fresh. Minutes old. A glossy photo at a business event. White tablecloths, soft lighting, suits that cost more than my car. Cole smiling too hard like he was selling himself. And there, in the corner of the photo, half turned away, Lily, in a dress I recognized. One I'd bought for a school ceremony. She looked stiff, like she'd been told to stand still and stop making faces. The post had a location tag, a venue name. I read it twice. Then I got into a taxi and said it. The driver nodded and pulled into traffic like I'd asked for a grocery store, not the place my child was being paraded. When we arrived, the venue looked like money had built it and money was guarding it. Security at the entrance. A guest list energy. People moving with purpose. I stepped out and immediately understood. I wasn't getting inside. I was still in the same clothes I'd worn to the airport to pick Lily up. Nothing fancy, nothing guest list. My hair was a mess. My face looked like it had been through 12 time zones and 0 sleep. Security glanced at me and his expression said politely, "No." I didn't argue. I didn't beg. Not because I couldn't, but because I knew what would happen if I became a problem. Problems get removed. So I got back into the taxi and stared through the window. I could see the revolving doors, staff moving, guests laughing, the world continuing. And I had to get into that world without actually going in the front door. So I opened LinkedIn again. I made a public post. Not a spiral, not a novel, just a clean statement that anyone serious would understand. My name, Lily's name, sole legal custody, 3-day travel consent, child not returned, police report filed. I tagged Cole's company. I tagged the people he was trying to impress, including Edward Langford. And then, because this is the year we live in, I hit publish and immediately tried to message them. LinkedIn blocked me. A cheerful pop-up appeared. You can't message this person because you're not connected. I blinked at it like it was a joke. Then I saw the little suggestion underneath. Upgrade to premium. My daughter was inside that building and LinkedIn wanted my credit card. Fine. I upgraded right there in the taxi, my hands shaking so badly I typed my card number wrong twice. Premium activated. And then I sent private messages like my life depended on it, because it did. To Edward Langford first. Then anyone else tagged. Then anyone with a title that looked like they had authority. My messages were short and polite in the way that terrifies people. I am the mother and sole legal custodian. My child was taken under limited consent and not returned. I have documentation and a police report. I can provide proof immediately. Then I attached the receipts privately, custody order, consent letter, police report reference, screenshots of the coordination and payment trail the officers had flagged. I wasn't trying to win a debate. I was trying to poison a deal. When I finished, I put my phone down and stared at the entrance like it might spit my child out if I stared hard enough. Minutes passed. Then more. The taxi air conditioner hummed. My foot tapped. My hands kept rechecking my phone like there would be a miracle notification that said, "Your child has been returned. Thank you for your patience." And then, movement. A group of men came out together. Polished. Expensive. Not the kind of people who argue in public. One of them matched the face from Cole's posts perfectly. Edward Langford. They got in their cars and left. Fast, clean, like they wanted no trace of this place. I stayed where I was. Lily hadn't come out yet. More people. Doors opening, closing. The night dragging. My chest tight. Then, Cole. He walked out alone, phone in hand, head down, jaw locked. He looked like a man mid-crisis, not one solving it. He stopped near the curb, typing something, pacing once, twice, then disappearing back inside. Then the doors opened again. Lily. She was holding a woman's hand. I didn't know her. Didn't care. Lily's eyes were darting, scanning. Then she saw me. She froze. Then she ran. I was already out of the taxi before my mind caught up. "Mom!" Her voice cracked halfway through. I caught her mid-stride, pulled her in, felt her shaking. "I'm here," I whispered. "I've got you." The woman stopped a few steps behind, uncertain. Then Cole appeared again, sudden and close. He stopped short, shock flashing before anger took over. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. I didn't answer. Lily pressed closer. That was enough. I turned, keeping her tight against me, and walked back to the taxi. Cole's voice followed, sharp, furious words I didn't bother to hear. We got in. Doors locked. The city blurred as we pulled away. Lily's breathing hitched, then steadied. She didn't let go of my hand. "We're going to the embassy," I said. She nodded fast, still shaking. "Okay." I held her hand tighter. No more plans. No more waiting. Just get home. I won't bore you with the embassy part. We got the emergency passport, and we were on a plane home fast. The first few weeks after we got back, Lily didn't let me out of her sight. Not in the sweet, clingy way people mean when they say clingy. In the scared way. If I went to the bathroom and closed the door, she hovered outside it. If I took the trash out, she stood at the window watching, face tense, like she was waiting for me to vanish. At night, she woke up whispering, "You're still here, right?" And I would put my hand on her back and say, over and over, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." She didn't tell me everything at once. She told me in fragments, like her brain released it in teaspoons. She told me the woman at the venue really was a nanny, hired for the whole stretch. Cole wasn't with her much at all. He'd show up for photos, for appearances, for moments where there were other adults watching. Then he'd leave. Lily told me she cried a lot. Quiet crying. The kind you do when you're trying not to get in trouble for being upset. And she told me the part that turned my stomach cold. She was coached. If anyone asked, she was supposed to smile and say, "I want to be with Daddy." She was supposed to say, "I'm so happy here." She was supposed to say, "Daddy was amazing." She practiced it like lines for a play she didn't want to be in. 6 months later, she's healing. She's still cautious, but she laughs again. Real laughs. She sleeps better. She trusts the world in small steps. Sometimes she still checks where I am, quietly, like she's making sure reality hasn't shifted again. As for Mom and Dad, Ashley and Matt, they took plea deals for interference with custody. The numbers looked neat on paper. The consequences didn't feel neat, but they were real. 14 months probation. 184 hours community service. $2,975 in fines and fees each. Court ordered no contact with Lily. Cole realized the evidence packet was lethal. My sole custody order, the 3-day consent letter, the paid handoff, the digital trail. And he couldn't risk it escalating into criminal exposure. He also couldn't risk trouble every time he entered the U.S., because he travels back regularly. So he went for a deal. Total settlement, $401,263, broken down exactly as $43,761 in child support arrears, plus statutory interest $342,508 lump sum civil settlement, global resolution, $14,994 for my legal costs contribution, ongoing support, $2,147 per month paid automatically through formal enforcement. No direct contact. My money panic stopped. Not because I got lucky, because I stopped being polite about people who hurt us. I didn't win by begging. I won by refusing to be powerless again. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more.